Okay, I'm not going to spend my whole day trying to make videos, but I said I was going to try to make a video on being pregnant and fat. Now, one of the reasons I said I was going to want to have the gastric bypass is because I want to have a baby. And the doctor said it'd be easier for me to have a baby if I lose some weight. And I've been pregnant 4 times, and all 4 times when I was pregnant, no one knew I was pregnant. Not that I was keeping it from them, not that I wasn't telling them I was pregnant, but like if I walk into a place and there was a stranger, they'd look at me and they would just assume I'm fat. There's no doubt that I was just fat. They would never assume I was pregnant. And I kind of have a couple stories on that. First one is not too bad. I went out to eat with my husband. I think we went to Longhorn Steakhouse. And I was like due any day with my daughter. And you know how when you're pregnant, you kind of hold your hand on your stomach, you know? And, you know, there's like a line and like good 45-minute wait. And my feet were swollen. And we're standing outside. And it was like middle of August. And I'm like burning up. And I'm standing there. And there's only like 2 benches. And there's like a whole bunch of people standing there. And I'm putting my hand on my stomach. And I'm thinking, oh, I want to sit down. And normally you see a pregnant girl and there's 2 benches. Someone's going to stand up and be like, here, sit down, you know? And I thought that in my head. But the ironic thing is because I was holding my hand on my stomach, you know, I was like, oh, I'm pregnant, you know, like this, you know, and rubbing my stomach. There's an old lady, and she's sitting on one of the benches, and she smiles at me, and she goes, don't be offended. I just have a question for you. And I'm like, okay. That's always a good way to start a sentence. She's like, are you pregnant? And I'm like, yeah, I'm due any day. And she's like, well, have a seat here. And I'm like, no, you stay sitting, you know, because, you know, she's older. And she's like, I would have never guessed you were pregnant, but you just kept rubbing your stomach, and that made me think maybe you were pregnant. And that was the only time I ever got recognized for being pregnant. And that hurts. You know, like, people are, you know, you want to be congratulated. You want someone to go, hey, congrats, we knew you do. I never got that. Never once. Another story about being pregnant. My ex-sister-in-law. I'm going to probably talk about my sister-in-law a lot in videos, but that sister-in-law is a different sister-in-law. My sister-in-law that's going through gastric bypass with me. She's awesome, and I love her to death, but this is not her. This is another sister-in-law. She's no longer my sister-in-law, but, we were both young. You know, it was my first pregnancy, and I was a senior in high school, and she's a teenager too. And she decided she wanted to go to one of these, like, gyms that only ladies can go to. It's not ladies only. I can't remember the name of it, but I just got a text message. Sorry. She said, let's go to the gym. And I was already past my due date. And so I say, okay, yeah, let's go, and I'll go with you and take the tour of the gym. And so she decides she's going to sign up, and we're sitting in the office with the person that's in charge of signing people up. And she's like, oh, it'd be so good for you. And then the person in the office turns to me and says, you need to sign up too. And I'm like, no, I really shouldn't sign up right now. I'm about to have a baby, and I can't, you know, I don't want to make a commitment to something like that when I don't know what my schedule's going to be like after the baby. And I can't work out right now. I mean, I'm due any day. And she's like, what do you mean you're due any day? I was like, well, I'm almost 2 weeks past my due date. And she's like, oh, stand up. And I'm like, what? And because I'm a teenager, and because I'm very nice, I went ahead and stood up. But I should have been disgusted by the thought they wanted me to stand up. And she's like, turn around. And so I'm like turning around. I'm like, oh, why am I pleasing this person by doing what they're saying? And she looks at me up and down, and she goes, you don't look pregnant at all. Then this is the kicker. She calls somebody in from the other room, and she's like, come in here. And she looks at, she's like, does she look pregnant to you? And, like, looks me up and down. She goes, no, how far along are you? A week? And I'm like, no, I'm due any day. I'm past my due date. And I'm like, oh, you don't even look pregnant. I would have never guessed you were pregnant. I'm like, so I'm just so fat, so morbidly obese, that nobody can even tell I'm pregnant. And that was just hurtful, because at that point, I was probably a good 50 pounds heavier than what I normally am, at least. And then they didn't, couldn't even tell. But I thought I would give that little bit of story, because I know there's other people out there. I know there has to be other people out there that have gone through that. Alright. Later. Bye.